present, mindful, in the now. That state of being seems pretty far removed from concerns over results, doesn't it? Especially the results you get from being present. Of course, if you're trying to be present, the likelihood is that you're wanting to stop stressing about the results you get and just kind of clear your mind, right? But the fact is that when you're present, the more present you are, the better the results you achieve in every area of your life. When I become more present at work, I'm more productive. When I become more present in my relationships, I'm more connected to the people in my life. When I'm more present, when I pray or meditate, there's a higher likelihood that I'll have a spiritual experience. So presence really affects your results in tons of different ways. You know, as a writer, if I'm not present, I'm definitely going to be unproductive. My mind's going to wander. I'm going to end up thinking about things instead of writing. As a certified high performance coach, if I'm not present with my clients, then I don't catch the changes in their tonality, the emotion in their voice, the little details in their stories, which means that I miss the opportunity to help them have an insight, an aha moment. And if I'm not present, for instance, when I go to the gym, then, you know, I might forget to do an exercise correctly, to lift a weight correctly and pull a muscle or get injured. So I could think of a lot of different instances where I could talk about the difference in results I got from being present or not present. But I want to tell you about one in particular. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's pretty amazing when when I look back at how not being present for just about a second or 2 seconds made the difference in my results. So I was in my teens, and I was an equestrian. I mostly did equitation, which means I was being judged on my riding. Okay, and the horse had to, of course, be along with me for the ride, right? So I had to make him look good too, or her. But anyway, at the time, I had this big gray horse. He was a what they called a flea-bitten gray. He was about 17.2 hands. Each hand is about 4 inches, and had this splash of roan-colored hair going down his neck. Roan is kind of reddish, red and white mixed. And so it was kind of funny because when we take him out of the trailer, people would think he was bleeding, and he wasn't. So anyway, I called him Splashdown, and Splash, for short, Splash could jump. I mean, he really could jump. He could jump high. But I tended to just do what I did for equitation, which was 3 foot 6 inches, which is pretty high in and of itself. So anyway, that's most of what we did. But we were going to the county fair, to the horse show, and my riding instructor said, why don't we enter Splash and you in the jumping competition, like the junior jumpers or something. So I said, okay, fine. So we go to the show, and there's an arena with 8 beautiful, big 4 foot 6 fences. And if you don't think a foot makes a difference, you're very wrong. A foot makes a huge difference. So from 3.6 to 4.6 was a big difference for me and for the horse. So I could see these beautiful jumps, quite high. And we go to warm up in a little arena above the big arena. And it's this little tiny ring, really. And my instructor sets up a cross rail, which is just 2 poles like this. But it was high. It was probably 4 foot 6 or 5 feet high at the middle where it crossed. And so we go around this little ring and jump this big fence. And I could see down in the arena the other riders, doing their thing, competing on this course. And so when it got close to my time to compete, Splash and I went down to the arena and parked ourselves in front of the gate, waiting. And I watched, I visualized, riding the course. I watched the other riders ride the course. I, considered how I would ride each turn, each jump, all these things. I wanted to make sure that I knew the course, that I wasn't going to forget it, all of that. And so when the rider in front of me was about done, I collected my reins and I patted Splash on the neck, and he was quite calm, and he always was. I was a little nervous. This was something different for me, and felt a little scary. Anyway, The other rider comes out of the ring, and I gather up the reins and I put my legs on and we go into the ring. And Splash looked at that first fence, and it was just like he knew. He knew that this was different. And I asked him to trot a circle the way he usually did. And he trotted a couple strides, and then he just broke into a canter, and his head came up, his ears were forward, his neck was all arched. And he's like, I want to go. This is, this is different. This is fun. Let me go. And so, I held the reins tightly, and I had my leg on him to steady him. And we go to the first fence. And, as we're riding towards the first fence, everything fell away. I became 100% present. Splash was present for sure. His ears were up, and all he was looking at was that fence. That was all he knew, was that fence and me on his back. And, for me, all the sounds fell away. The people on the Ferris wheel and the other rides, they're screaming and yelling, and there's talking, and the vendors yelling, and people in the stands. All of that just fell away, including my instructor standing at the fence, right, talking to me as I go by. All of that fell away. I was 100% present. And we approach the first fence and we jump it. And we go to the second fence and jump it, and on and on and on, right? And there are 8 fences. And we go through all of them, and just nothing else, just me and the horse and the fences, no sound, nothing, right? Totally present. And we get to the last fence, and it's called what's called a triple. So you have to jump in, and then over another fence. So over one fence, you have one stride, or maybe it was 2 strides. I can't even remember. You jump, I think it was 1 stride, and then you jump over the next fence, and you have 2 strides to jump the third one. And then we were going to be done. But we jumped the first one, great, 1 stride over the next fence. And as we finished that second fence of the final 3, suddenly I'm not present. Suddenly I think something along the lines of, we're done, or it's over, or we did it. And my mind goes to the future, that we're done, but we're not done. We have 1 more fence. And in that moment, when I lost my presence, I relaxed my leg on the horse. And when you do that, the horse thinks something's wrong and that you don't want them to go. And so Splash lost his presence because he started to think about me and to wonder, why'd you take your leg off? Should I stop? Am I not supposed to go? What's the problem? And so both of us in that moment lost our presence, and he slammed on the brakes. He, put his front feet down right in front of the fence, put his head down, and stopped. And I almost fell off. I managed to stay in the saddle, but we were done. They let you go back and do the combination again, the triple, right? It's called the combination. They let you go back and do it again so that the horse knows he has to do it, and so the rider doesn't lose confidence either. But we were done. And in that one moment, my results changed from success to failure. 1 moment of not being present. So I want you to think about this. It's a lot like the old lesson of keeping your eye on the ball in baseball or basketball or whatever. But in baseball, think about it. A ball's coming at the batter 95 miles per hour in most cases or more. And if the guy at the, with the bat happens to get distracted for just a second by the coach over there at first base, who might be doing his little things. I don't know much about baseball, but they do their little signs and whatever. If he gets distracted, then that ball goes whizzing by. Hopefully it doesn't hit him. And, it's very likely it's going to be a strike. And it's all because he took his eye off the ball for 1 second. He wasn't present. So that's what I'm talking about. Your results change in an instant by not being present. So you have to become present and be present consistently. So how can you do that? So the first way you can do that is with your breath. Okay, so sometimes your mind wanders because you just aren't breathing. Like if I sit at my desk, right now I'm standing at my desk. If I sit at my desk, I won't breathe very deeply. And my brain doesn't get what it needs. It needs to have oxygen. So if you feel like you're not being present, try breathing. Try taking some deep diaphragmatic, forceful breaths, like 20 of them in and out through the nose, and see if you don't get more present again. And then you can go back to work. Also, if your mind is wandering because you have one thought that just keeps coming back over and over and over again, then keep a record of it, because we think about it over and over again because we're afraid we're going to forget. Sometimes also our brain just is worried, we're worried about something. but just keep a record, write it down. I don't mean 30 minutes of journaling. I mean, write it down and go on your way. Okay. Go back to what you were doing. So let that thought go. Kind of like what we talk about in meditation. Let it go. Right. Not that song. Let it go. Let it go. Not that one. I can't sing. Anyway, just jot it down, move on. Okay. The third thing that you can do is to create some urgency. And while a lot of people don't like deadlines, they can be really useful when you need to come back to the moment really fast. And that's why, sometimes you get more done in 30 minutes before your children come home from school, or the boss tells you, that a project has to be done in the next hour. If you don't really like those kind of deadlines or actual deadlines, try mini deadlines, like, setting an alarm for 20 minutes and cleaning the closet, or setting an alarm for 15 minutes to handle email, whatever it is. Just a mini deadline. Get whatever you can done in that amount of time. The other thing to do is to create necessity. And while this sounds kind of like urgency, it's a little different. When you need to do something, have you ever noticed how present you are? Like if a pot catches on fire on the stove, you're going to be super present, and you're going to find a way to put that thing out because it's necessary. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about. You want to increase your sense of necessity to do things. And that's going to keep you present. Think of urgency as time bound, like a deadline, and necessity as aspiration bound, like wanting to fill your purpose or write that book or put out that fire. Okay. But increase in urgency and necessity, both of those will make you more present. Another thing to do, which goes along with breathing, is drinking water. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but when your brain also needs water to function, and your body does too. And so if you're not breathing and you're not drinking, you're going to feel a lack of presence. So if you feel your presence kind of waning, then drink some water, and notice if you don't have an easier time focusing after that. If you do, you'll know you were dehydrated. Plus, when you drink, you have to breathe. And so it's a mini break to breathe and to hydrate. Okay, so those are all things you can do. And just keep remembering that presence leads to results. And it can be challenging to remain present, especially since we live in such a distracting world. But if you want to achieve any type of results, you're going to want to try to stay more present. Okay, and just watch how present you are, and how that affects your results. And let me know. Tell me about it in a comment down below, either below this video or below the blog post if you're reading the blog post. I would really love to hear how you get more present, like what tips and tools you have for being more present. Maybe you have some additional ones. Add them in a comment, or tell me how being present has changed your results in some situation. So if you don't know me, I'm Nina Amir. I'm the Inspiration to Creation coach. I'm a certified high performance coach, as well as an author coach. And I love helping people step into their best self, fulfill their potential, achieve their purpose. I like taking you from where you are now to where you want to go, and helping you create what you want, whether that's a book, whether it's more presence, whether it's more happiness, whether it's more necessity, whatever it is you want, a better relationship, more money, whatever it is. I love helping people create in their lives. And one of the ways I do that is by helping people combine their passion with their purpose, because I really believe that when you combine passion with purpose, you get inspired. And when you get inspired, you take inspired action, and that leads to inspired results. So if that's something that interests you, if you would like to step into your best self before the end of the year or at any time, then apply for one of my free high performance coaching strategy sessions. You can do that right up here, or maybe it's over here. Can't remember which way, but there'll be a little button you can press to get to my to the information about high performance coaching. And there on that page, there is an application. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's an application for a free high performance coaching strategy session. And we'll get on the phone, and we'll spend or a Zoom meeting or whatever, or Skype, and we'll spend an hour and a half together discussing things like clarity, energy, courage, productivity, influence, pillars of high performance. We'll talk about how you master your psychology, how you manage your physiology, how you manage your effectiveness, how you manage your people skills or relationships, how you manage your purpose and your presence. So if that's of interest to you, and you want some tips and tools that will help you level up faster than you thought possible, get some new results, then fill out the application. And let's get together, get on my calendar, and we'll spend some time talking about high performance. And you can see if we're a good fit. I'll tell you about my coaching program. And either way, you're going to walk away with some things that you can do immediately, some tips and tools and strategies that will work for you. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm Nina Amir, the Inspiration to Creation Coach. Find me at ninaamir.com. Leave me a comment. Share this video with someone if you found it useful, or the blog post and the video. I really appreciate that. And until I talk to you next time, go out there and achieve more inspired results.